I've been having a lot of fun with the combat system in Final Fantasy XVI over the last week, and during my time with it, I've been gathering some valuable combat knowledge from the game's first 10 or so hours. So, to help newer players understand the basics of the combat system, I'm going to share some of my insights so you can better your combat skills. I'll go over a handful of the game's basic abilities and mechanics like Magic Burst, Burning Blade, Stomp cancels, and Charge buffers, as well as how they pair with the two iconic powers of both Phoenix and Garuda. Plus, towards the end of the video, I'll show off the awesome combo potential that all these abilities have with one another, and I even provided a spreadsheet down in the description with multiple combos along with video links to them so that you can get an understanding of how they look. Now that we have that covered, my name is Atano, and these are all my insights for helping you master Final Fantasy XVI's combat basics. Clive is an extremely capable fighter with a wide range of offensive abilities from standard melee attacks to ranged magic. His iconic abilities are his strong suit and continuously expand the further you progress in the game's story. Magic Burst is one of the earliest and easiest combos to pull off by alternating between your melee and magic attacks. It's an 8-piece combo with a final Magic Burst that knocks back smaller enemies, leaving them open for a punish, which is a high damage finisher that can be initiated on downed enemies. One of the cooler features of the Magic Burst is that you actually don't need to input a burst after every single melee attack. You can pick and choose when you feel you want to use it, which is great for the various combat situations you'll find yourself in throughout the game. Clive is also very good at quickly closing gaps on the battlefield with his Phoenix Shift or Lunge. After shifting, you can execute a Shift Strike or Shift Shot by pressing square or triangle respectively. After a lunge, you can also perform a Shift Shot to knock back smaller enemies, leaving them knocked down and susceptible to a punish. During this punish animation, you can actually buffer the charge up time for the Charge Shot ability to quickly launch an enemy into the air after the punish is finished. And most importantly, before I forget, at Clive's beck and call is Torgal, a furry four-legged friend who'll always have your back no matter what. Torgal's combat commands are fairly straightforward, but his Ravage ability is essential for starting aerial combos as it launches smaller enemies into the air for Clive to Phoenix Shift towards. Now for defense, Clive can perform an evade when grounded or airborne, and with perfect timing, this can be made into a precision dodge followed by a powerful melee or magic strike. Most importantly, the evade can cancel any of Clive's basic melee attacks and even the wind-up swing of Downthrust. Furthermore, Clive can parry enemies by performing a melee attack just as an enemy is about to hit him. Time will slow for exactly 3 seconds after a parry, and Clive's attacks will receive a 25% damage increase during this period. Both the lunge and Downthrust abilities are also capable of parrying enemies, so you aren't limited to Clive's standard melee attack to utilize the parry feature. If you have the taunt ability unlocked, you can also coerce enemies to attack you for easy precision dodges and parries. I'd recommend practicing these skills in the Hall of Virtue once you get access to the Already Stone at the Hideaway. Here you can engage single enemies in combat to practice any defensive or offensive abilities you may be struggling with. Now that we've got some of the basics established, one of Clive's stronger attacks that you can unlock is Burning Blade. His fiery slam attack has high combo potential, but it has a lengthy charge up when first unlocked, so I'd recommend mastering it in the skill tree to dramatically reduce this charge up time. When used on the ground, it knocks back smaller enemies, leaving them open for a punish, but Burning Blade really shines when used in aerial combat. Clive can use it to lift smaller enemies up into the air for starting combos, as well as extending combos by resetting your melee swing counter in between melee attacks. It's at its best when combined with the Stomp ability, since you can use the Stomp as a buffer for the charge up time while also gaining a bit of extra height. However, I highly recommend practicing this charge up buffer with Lunge or Phoenix Shift to get a better understanding of how it works first. This side-by-side comparison shows the speed difference between a buffered Burning Blade versus a typical use case Burning Blade when combined with Lunge. Once you get a good understanding of buffering, you can apply it to just about any ability, even the iconic ones like Garuda's Gouge or even Wicked Wheel. Furthermore, your charged magic shot can also be buffered like Burning Blade. Try chaining together either Phoenix's Rising Flames or Scarlet Cyclone with a buffered charge shot to quickly launch enemies into the air for some stylish aerial combos. Stomp is another one of Clive's abilities that I found to be far more capable than what I had initially thought it to be. We already know it can act as a buffer for the charge up of certain abilities like Charge Shot or Burning Blade, as well as provide a height boost for extending aerial combos, but it can also be used as an evasion method against enemy attacks. Using the traditional evade when airborne will cause you to return to the ground since it has a lengthy recovery before you're able to attack again. However, Stomp's recovery time is far shorter and keeps you in the air for continuous air combos. But the biggest benefit to Stomp is its ability to fully cancel any aerial attack, including Downthrust and iconic abilities. To cancel a Downthrust, you'll need to use Stomp during the attack's initial drop, before Clive gets too close to the ground, otherwise it won't activate. Canceling is helpful for ending combos early to evade an incoming attack, or even for fully abandoning the longer iconic abilities like Garuda's Gouge or Wicked Wheel. Speaking of Garuda, Deadly Embrace is another incredible ability of hers for minimizing gaps between Clive and his enemies. If used on smaller enemies, it will pull them towards Clive, but if used on larger enemies, it will launch Clive into the air, causing him to 360 spin while also dealing AoE damage. Clive can use Deadly Leap 4 times in the air before he starts losing height and returns to the ground. But if you mix in a Stomp, this counter will reset, allowing him to perform 4 additional Deadly Leaps. It's safe to say that Garuda's main focus is aerial combat, but a quick way to bring Clive back to solid ground is by using Downthrust. Downthrust can be activated when airborne, and the higher Clive is positioned, the more damage it will do. Plus, if you have the ability mastered, a fiery explosion will resonate from the impact, knocking back smaller enemies. And if you're quick enough, Clive can even perform a magic burst after the impact. So now that you're back on the ground, Clive can focus on using the iconic abilities of the Phoenix since their abilities cannot be used while in the air. Heatwave is a solid choice for enemies at range and can be used to block magic projectiles, which in turn boosts the ability's damage output. Scarlet Cyclone is perfect for multiple enemies surrounding Clive, while Rising Flames is great for starting aerial combos if combined with a buffered Charge Shot. Now for the next minute of this video, I'm going to show off some stylish combos with the abilities we've talked about today. No voiceover, just combat. So please enjoy and I'll be back in a minute. And that's only a taste of the combat's potential in this game, as the further you progress, the more iconic powers you'll unlock. I hope y'all are loving this game as much as I am, and that this video taught you at least one new thing about the game's combat basics. If that's the case, then a like down below would be much appreciated. Plus, if you want to see more Final Fantasy XVI content here on the channel, consider subscribing, as I have some awesome videos currently in the works that you won't want to miss. And lastly, as always, thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you all in the next one.